Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times. Today we are sitting here together to discuss the new Amazon Prime show, Them.
It's coffee time!
This is a show that I was really excited to check out. It is supposed to be an anthology, and every season, as far as I understand, it's going to be a complete different story, sort of, like American Horror Story. And this particular series that Amazon Prime announced, I was really excited for because it sounded exactly like other things that I enjoyed, like Us, from Jordan Peele, and it came out on the 9th of April. I decided to sit down this weekend and just binge watch the series. It is only a total of 10 episodes and they go from like 50 to 30 minutes, so it is completely bingeable, and I'm just here to let you know all my thoughts about the show. This is going to be a spoiler-free review as always. I'm just gonna let you know a little bit about the themes, the things that I enjoyed, the things I didn't enjoy, and let you guys know my final thoughts on it and if I would recommend it for you. So before we jump into that, if you're new to the channel and you love horror, movies, and collectibles, please consider subscribing to the channel, and also of course hit the notification bell before you leave so you don't miss any more coffee times. Them is an American horror drama streaming television anthology series created by Little Marvin. Set in 1953, Them Covenant follows a black family who during the Second Great Migration moves from North Carolina to an all-white neighborhood in Los Angeles. The family's idyllic home slowly transforms into an epicenter of evil forces next door and otherworldly that threaten to hunt, ravage, and destroy them. When you start watching this show, you are going to be really pleased when it comes to the sound, the cinematography, the screenplay, the acting. Everything is amazing. But also from the very beginning, you're just not going to be able to stop comparing it to Get Out or Us by Jordan Peele because of the theme of the show, which is basically a social commentary on racism, especially in the 50s in America, and how white supremacy, kind of made the lives of people of color a living nightmare. There is also a lot of attention paid to detail when it comes to even the prints on the walls, the costumes. Everything is just done with so much taste, and the colors, everything is going to a little bit remind you as well to Ryan Murphy shows like Ratched or American Horror Story. So definitely, if you love any of these things that I am mentioning, I think this show is already going to be worth a watch for you. So Them is following the Emery family that are moving from the south. They are leaving that, going to North Carolina, and they are trying to avoid Jim Crow. And basically a lot of families between the, I believe the 40s and the 70s, all migrated to the north of America to kind of try to look for a better life. The father is a war veteran, Henry, and he has found a great engineering job in Los Angeles, and he decides to buy this beautiful house for his family, his wife, and his two daughters, and it is hoping for the perfect new beginning. However, the neighborhood that they move into is an all-white neighborhood, and from the very beginning when they move there, they're going to be looked at differently. I think the beginning of this show is a lot stronger than the ending because the first episodes are giving you so much and they are not answering all the questions, which is something that is keeping you hooked, and they're making such a great job to kind of lay down all the different characters and themes they're going to explore later on in the show, and that kind of mystery is what really keeps you watching. The show is obviously exploring racism and the 50s, the people of color that had to move to all-white neighborhoods and how hard it was for them to adapt to their new life. And even though this is a very important topic that needs to be discussed and something that I'm always interested to check out, I think the show is kind of putting so much effort on the same things over and over and over again that it becomes a little bit numbing, and at some point it doesn't have the effect that it should anymore. Of course, it is important to go through the trauma and the pain, to experience how these Black families had to go through so much just because of the color of their skin. And I do think that we see that done so well at the very beginning. The problem is, at some point it became a little bit repetitive for me, and I felt like I was stuck in the same episode over and over again. I'm not really sure if that was kind of the intention of the people that created the show, but at some point I felt like I didn't care as much anymore just because it was being a little bit overdone. Another thing from this show is that the horror that we experience, the terrors and the nightmares, are part supernatural elements and part reality. And at some point I just feel like the show was trying to do so much, and it was putting so many things for the viewer there, that for me it was a little bit overwhelming at some point. And even though I wanted to love the show, I think I would have loved it more if they would have toned it down a little bit. My favorite part here were the horrors of the real life and the neighbor Betty, which is one of the ones that really puts a lot of effort into getting this family out of their neighborhood. And you know, the struggles of Henry with his job, the struggles of the wife trying to get over some past trauma that she had to live. Those were my favorite parts. The horror elements, when it comes to the supernatural, they had some really good visuals, but they did use some jump scares and other things that are not so effective for me, but I did love the creepy images that we get to see. Another thing is that the Emery family is put also through a lot of physical abuse and pain, which, you know, I understand that is exactly how things were back in the day, and we do have to acknowledge that these things happened, that the white people got away with a lot of things that they were responsible for, and they were not even punished for it. And it's something that happened, and that should be acknowledged and not ignored, and we should change it in the current times. But I felt like at some point the show just used suffering just for the purpose of making people watch suffering. And like I said, I think this show just tries so hard to put so much on the table that toning it down a little bit would have really helped the show. This is not a show that was so amazing that it blew me away, even though the beginning was really promising and I was hoping it was going to be exactly that. But it was also not a terrible show. As I have mentioned before, once you start this show, you're going to be reminded of Us by Jordan Peele. And very interesting fact, Shahadi Wright, the teenage girl that we see in them, it's also the oldest daughter from the couple that we got to meet in Us. This is a show that is looking to provoke the viewer, and I do think that they achieve it, especially at the beginning. But like I have said before, I just felt like the show kept being so repetitive on the same thing that it started to lose the impact. However, the show is really worth a watch just alone on the cinematography and the acting, the sound. There is a lot of creepy images, and especially the last episodes get really disturbing and messed up. The thing with the plot of this TV show is that it becomes a jumble at some point, and it's kind of harder to follow. The other thing is that they were trying to make a show where they would really kind of portray white supremacy and how the way that they treated Black people made Black people go through so much trauma, nightmares, and really ruin their lives at times, you know. And I think that's a really important message. And on the other hand, we're trying to make a horror show, and I felt like the horror elements kind of got lost in the social commentary, and it was for me not as scary show. It has a lot of creepy, really well done images and really disturbing things happen in this show. There is in some episodes the disclaimer for physical abuse even on children, so you are being warned beforehand. They focused a lot more, in my opinion, on the trauma and the pain of being a Black family and in a neighborhood where there is a lot of white supremacy and white people are not being punished for anything that they do, and the trauma, the nightmares, the pain that it causes the black families. Kind of a little bit like the movie His House. And then the horror elements, it didn't just connect so well together like it did in His House, the movie that Netflix released last year. So I'm kind of torn with this show because, like I've mentioned, I love the acting, the cinematography, the background stories. I love the real trauma, the real nightmares inflicted by white people on the black families, but the horror didn't really work for me as horror. And I think that they were trying to do so much that it kind of backfired a little bit. But I still recommend you guys to check out the first season. I am personally excited for the second season because we're going to get a brand new cast, a brand new story. So I'm hoping that one is gonna be more my cup of tea. Alright guys, I hope that you enjoyed this spoiler-free review of the TV show Them, streaming now on Amazon Prime. Let me know down below if you have already watched it and what your thoughts on the show are. Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks you guys so much for watching. Please give the video a big thumbs up for support, and I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!